of boats pounding across treacherous seas at mind-numbing speeds. This is offshore racing SBI style, and the best in the world are ready to roar into a brand new season here on Speed Vision. It's the first race of the new millennium for offshores as a Seminole Indian Casino presents the Fountain Miami Superboat Grand Prix. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Stan Lane. This is Superboat International Opener for the biggest and the fastest race boats in the world here in Miami. And John Carbonell, the Superboat chief, and the chief referee, Mike Drury, Stan, told the guys at the drivers' meeting that look out. There's going to be some very rough parts in this ocean.
Well, Jim, we've got some big water, but it's what they call here in South Beach, Miami, just outside our mobile studio here, a Chamber of Commerce day. Because we got sunny skies, it's 84 degrees, but we do have big water because we have sustained winds of 20 miles per hour and the occasional gust of 35. It's going to be very, very big, especially on the south end of the course they call Government Cut. So if you're ready, let's throttle up, trim it out, and let's go racing.
Well, you heard Stan refer to Government Cut. It's the main channel into the port of Miami. Here's what it looks like high overhead. Now let's look at the field for today's racing, starting with the Superboat, Stan, and Superboat limited classes.
Well, number 3, Coca-Cola Racing, that 4-engine boat. You have Drambuie on ice, Planet Man, and Hydrogen Media Fountain.
In the Superboat limited class, you have an entry, number 31, Bandit. Onboard cameras in the big boats, Drambuie on ice, with a new face behind the wheel, Lauren Leibel, driving with John Tomlinson on the throttles.
Hugh Fuller on board, brand new driver as well on Hydrogen Media, but Jerry Gilbreth, a wily veteran on the throttle sticks.
Now let's check the starting lineup in Super V.
You have Popeye Fountain, Rio Rosa's Cigarette, Firewater, and of course Fountain Mercury.
That's the starting lineup. As we look aboard the Popeye Fountain, we have a stern camera facing backwards. This is going to be exciting.
It certainly is. You see those staggered engines on this Fountain boat. It's extremely fast. And on board, Joe scored another Fountain boat, the Fountain Mercury. This boat moved up from B to Super V. It's going to be very fast today.
Joe Stroh and Peter Meyer as we look at the shoreline of Miami Beach. The stock class has 7 entries here today.
Production A has 4 entries. Real good class there.
And in Manufacturers 1, 3 combatants will take battle here today.
And Manufacturers 2, 3 contestants as well.
Manufacturers 3, just 1 entry. That's the Planet Honda, but he'll get a lot of experience here today in these seas.
Speaking of these seas, you can see them right now, Jim. 3 to 4 foot on the outside. This is going to be very, very exciting with lots of air.
Drambuie on ice, Lauren Leibel, John Tomlinson. Green flag is out. Now we're on board the Superboat class Hydrogen Media Fountain.
You hear those superchargers winding up now. They're putting the throttles down, but they have to be very, very aware of these waves now. They'll be sawing those throttles all day long.
The green flag is out. One of the most exciting parts of offshore racing is the start. And look at Drambuie as they head north.
Putting the throttles down, as we said, normally the spectator fleet would be completely covering the horizon, but the water, Jim, is so rough, those boats could not anchor out there today.
In the cockpit, in the Hydrogen Media Fountain, with Hugh Fuller and Jerry Gilbreth, and they're pulling into the lead.
A very successful hull over the years, and just as fast today as ever, but a brand new team in here. We'll have to keep an eye on them.
They're battling for the lead now as they head north for lap number 1. And look at those boats. Look at those whitecaps here off the shores of Miami Beach. On board Drambuie, you can see the Hydrogen Media. There he is to the right, pulling out in front.
But it's so close, and I have to set up for this turn. We talked about the north end of this course, Jim. They'll have to be very, very cautious up here.
Here's the new contender with the Superboats, Planet Man. Tim Sisuli and Russ Houston joining the act.
Nice to have Tim back after many, many years. He's been around a long time. This guy knows how to get a boat around this course.
Right now we're aboard the Popeye Fountain, Dominic Visconti Jr. and Jimmy Dyke.
This is a Super V boat. You notice the ride not quite as smooth as those cats because this boat does not pack the air. Now going off the stern, they have those staggered engines on this very, very fast Fountain. National and world champions in 1999.
Challenging them, the V8 Rio Rosas.
brand new boat, fresh from the mold. Phil Lipschutz, a wily veteran as well. Now we're back on board Fountain Mercury. Joe Skro and Peter Meyer. They were national champions in B. They moved up to Super B, Jim. It's going to be very interesting today to see that smaller boat, a 39-foot Fountain, in this big class.
Dan Campbell throttling the Coca-Cola Racing. That is a nice-looking boat.
And the only boat in the fleet with 4 engines, 4 1,400 horsepower big blocks in that big 50-foot cat.
And here comes the start of the second wave, and what a beautiful view this is.
On board the Mikosuke Gaming, this is a Factory 2, Manufacturer's 2 boat. You see they are standing up the old style in those bolsters. If they hit a big wave, they better hang on or they'll be ejected.
This is Cliff Cyber and Steve Abels on the accelerator.
Factory 1 boat. Also a Factory 1 boat is the Warlock, a small boat.
We got pieces free in the water. Go, oh boy, go left, go left, go left, go left. I'm turning left. It's just a talk.
And what is this debris they're talking about, Stan? It looks like a yellow scoop.
Well, it's actually the hatch off the V76 Fountain Mercury, and of course the scoop on that hatch for the supercharged engine. That boat getting a rough ride there. You see it right there. It appears to be riding a little bow heavy today, Jim.
I wonder if that's going to affect him, you think?
Well, it certainly will affect him. Give him a rough ride. Plus, it's hard to steer a boat if it's bow steering.
Back to the front, 4 superboats battling it out with Drambuie chasing Hydrogen Media, Planet Man, and Coca-Cola. We'll be back in just a moment. Coverage of the Fountain Miami Superboat Grand Prix is brought to you by Fountain Powerboats, because there is a difference. By Seminole Indian Casino, catch the excitement. And by Entertainment Coaches of America, the preferred coach of the stars.
Back on the course, and those top 4 boats, Jim, are still at it. This is great, great close racing SBI style.
Look at this battle for second place. They're really going at it.
We talked about those 35-mile-per-hour gusts. These cat drivers and throttlemen have to be very, very cognizant of that. They don't want to pack too much air in those boats and blow over.
Hugh Fuller with the Hydrogen Media Fountain. They're the leaders as he approaches turn 1. Look at the turn.
They have to lower those drives, pull the tabs in, slow the boat down to negotiate this turn. Very, very treacherous up here on the north side. And then they'll straighten it out, going back down south, and they'll nail those throttles to the wall.
On board Drambuie with Martin Leibel and John Tomlinson. Now you can see Miami Beach on the right as they head south toward Government Cut.
There you see that Coca-Cola boat. He's having a rough time. That's a big, heavy boat. He has a lot of fuel in that boat right now, but as the fuel burns off, the boat lightens up. I look for him to move up on these 3 leaders anytime now.
Current leader, number 11, Hydrogen Media Fountain, giving a little better ride than that Coca-Cola boat at this point, and all the leaders are through turn 1 safely and heading south.
The Drambuie on ice, also a very good ride. That boat trimmed very, very nicely right now. This battle for second place is really heating up. There you see Planet Man, brand new boat. This boat, they're just getting this boat dialed in for the new millennium, and I'll tell you what, it is extremely fast, Jim.
It looks good. Of course, Tim Sashuli is really a competitor, always has been. He's an old veteran that's come back.
An old veteran with a brand new boat. This is the newest boat in the field, Planet Man. Now we're on board Drambuie on ice. Let's check it out. I love the sound of those superchargers whining, Jim. Those belts just forcing all that inducted air and fuel into those big block engines. It's music to my ears.
And it's deck-to-deck battling right now along this beach. Look at this battle.
Oh, they're almost trading gel coat here. Doesn't get any better than this in offshore racing. This is SBI style all the way. The biggest, the fastest boats in the world, undisputed.
Side by side, deck-to-deck seesaw battle here on the Atlantic Ocean.
And currently second, making the pass, Drambuie on ice. That's got to bring a big smile to the face of John Thompson. He always does a great job. One of the greatest throttlemen in the world.
Hydrogen Media Fountain being challenged by Drambuie, and on the inside, Drambuie takes the lead.
But you have to wonder, this is early in the race. It could be a cat and mouse game. You don't want to show your hand too soon now. That Fountain boat has plenty of power. Maybe he's just pulling back, conserving the equipment.
Well, the rabbit in the hare game has been played many times in offshore racing as we are inside the Hydrogen Media Fountain, currently in second place. And here comes Planet Man.
We've said it before, for those of you tuning in for the first time perhaps, 40% of these race boats do not finish the race. Attrition is really really, really big in SBI Offshore because these boats are pushed to the max all the way around the course, the entire race.
And keep in mind, the longer they go, the faster they go because the fuel is being burned off and the boats get lighter.
And speaking of fast, Jim, this is one of the fastest Super Vs in the world, the Popeye Fountain, national and world champions last year, and he's showing the way around the course. But these boats, I'll tell you what, they're putting the heat on. It's very, very close. Good competition all day long.
Look at the water get rough now here as we approach Government Cut. They're chine walking, they're bow to stern bouncing. Look at them.
On board now the Fountain Mercury, second in class. They are 6th overall, trying to move up. This boat has the brand new power. They're trying to dial it in. Center of gravity so important on these boats. They took the smaller engines out, put these heavier motors in. That may mean a difference in handling for those guys.
Firewater, Bob Oliver, Scott Wilson, Herb Statler. Doing a fine job in that open cockpit boat. Here's a battle for 10th.
Here's our current leader, Drambuie on ice, the brand new driver, Lauren Leipold. We asked him about the adjustment getting into a brand new boat.
The adjustment is more in just looking through the canopy. That's where the view is certainly better than what I had in my previous boat. So, I mean, the transition is easier than I even expected. It's like a Cadillac.
And coming up to challenge comes the number 11 Hydrogen Media Fountain, Hugh Fuller, Jerry Gilbreth. And we go on board as he makes his pass.
Making the pass on the inside, but it's not going to be easy. These guys are battling. There's not only a lot of money on the line, Jim, but a lot of pride as well.
And from the Drambuie on board, we see Hydrogen Media on the left, Planet Man also in action on the right, and right through the rooster tail.
Oh, that is not good. These big block motors do not like to ingest salt water. That could put them on ice, but they're still going on, Jim, so apparently they did get their engines hurt. Oh, they're so close, Jim, they can almost reach out and slap each other. This is great racing.
Always is when you're in Superboat International racing waters, and in this particular day, we're down the Atlantic Ocean, heading north. You can see Miami Beach on the left. Now, we do have a rookie in the fleet today. His name is Hugh Fuller, and he was very excited to get in.
A little IMSA racing before, and I enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. It's on the edge all the time. And I'd like to thank Reggie at Fountain for getting us here this year, and also Hydrogen Media. Looking very forward to the race today.
Well, I don't know if he's enjoying it now, Jim, because he is really getting a baptism by fire. This is not the smooth IMSA track he's on. This is the rough, turbulent waters just off Miami. I tell you what, he's going to earn his pay today.
Yes, he is, and now they're in that number 2 turn, the north turn. You can see them bouncing around. They'll come back down the shoreline, heading south toward Government Cut. Our leader is the Hydrogen Media Fountain. We'll be back with more action here in Miami in just a moment. 10 Lane welcoming you back to great action here on the Atlantic Ocean in the Seminole Indian Casino SBI Superboat Miami Grand Prix. Here's the Hydrogen Media Fountain, the current leader, heading south as you can see the beach on his right, Stan.
Oh, yeah, he's still taking the lead, but it's been close all day long. You can see how close it is right here. Here's the battle for second place. You can also see, Jim, the seas are continuing to build as we speak, as this race progresses.
On board, Drambuie on ice, currently third and giving chase to the 2 boats just in front of him.
You have to wonder the way these guys are stretching these engines. Can these boats last the entire race? 120 miles for the big boats.
Look at the Drambuie come up right now. You can see a good crowd on the beach here. Driver Coca-Cola, Joseph Vasquez, told us earlier about trimming the boat for conditions on the seas with fuel.
Well, the boat will carry a maximum of 600 gallons. We're not going to carry 600 gallons today. If it were a rough race, then we'd want the weight, and we would fill it up. Right now, we just put in enough to make it across the finish line.
And that strategy might not work because it's a lot rougher than they have anticipated, believe me.
What a battle we're still seeing here. These guys back and forth all day long. Can it continue? We're going to find out.
Well, I'll tell you, we've had lots of great action here early in the first race of the SBI season for the new millennium. They're chasing the leader, Hydrogen Media Fountain, as we look at that boat right now. A great shot from our helicopter cameras as the boats head south. Earlier, Stan looked at the cost of racing a superboat. And who else would he go to but the expert, Reggie Fountain?
SBI Offshore Racing is certainly not for the weak of heart, and it's not for the meek of checkbook. Nobody knows that any better than Reggie Fountain. Reggie, if you would, lead us through the entire year and just how much it costs to be successful at offshore racing.
Well, I can tell you to start off with, it's a lot of money. We're looking at $300,000 for the boat. We're looking at another $400,000 for 4 engines and 4 drives to get us through the season. So we're at $700,000 there, another $150,000 to rig this boat with all of the different systems that are in it. So that carries us to $850,000, another $150,000 for the truck and the trailer. We're at $1 million, and now we have to take the 2 drivers and the 10 support personnel to all the races. That's $50,000 to $75,000 a race for 8 to 10 races. That pushes us up close to another $500,000 to $750,000. And, of course, we have to bring a helicopter here with our divers so I can watch out for my guys down there if they have an accident. We want to be right on the spot with medical personnel and divers to assist them as quickly as possible.
Another strong running fountain boat, Popeye, less expensive campaign, is leading the Super V. Dominic Visconti rated his competition.
We've never raced against any of these guys, and it's going to be exciting. The V76 fountain boat, if the water's calm, will be extremely fast. And as I said, we're prepared, and we're going to try and repeat.
The Fountain Mercury seems to be coping pretty well with that missing rear hatch. We asked him earlier about moving up from Sportsman V to Super V.
It's like day and night, I guess. We have so much more power that you could run the boat differently. You could lay the boat over, you don't have to run it as loose, and you should be able to stay a lot safer at a higher speed.
And they're now under pressure from the V8 Rio Rosas, Raul Bussell and Phil Lipschutz. And look at the battle of that wheel as they make that rough northern turn to head south once again. And Rio Rosas has moved into 2nd place in class. Boy, what a battle they're going to give that boat right now as they try. Look at the fighting the wheel. Back and forth, fighting the waves, fighting the rollers. And Rio Rosas has moved into 2nd place. And look at them. They're Rio Rosas, currently 2nd in the Super V class, and that boat is a thing of beauty. Inside the cockpit we go.
Earlier, Jim, we talked about Hugh Fuller in the hydrogen media fountain coming from an IMSA background. Well, the driver of this boat, Rio Rosas, Raul Boisel from Brazil, he comes from a kart and Indy background. So we got some famous car drivers now putting themselves in the boat. Let's go talk to Raul.
It'll be a new experience, you know, and be alongside Phil will be really a thrill, and he knows about boats, and he convinced me to be alongside him and drive the boat, so I'm very excited about it.
Sure, he's excited. He's a racer through and through. Famous Raul Bussell in automobile racing, including the Indianapolis 500, trying to make himself a name here in Superboat International. In the cockpit with him is Phil Lipschutz, who is a very experienced throttle man.
We're still working on our setup. We don't have much time in it, but it's a real honor, and the boat's going to run good, but it's a real honor to run with Raul Boisel 11 times in the Indy 500. It's a big thrill for me to be sitting alongside this guy.
Yeah, we should mention, Jim, this is a brand new boat just out of the mold, so they are trying to get it dialed in, trying to get the drives and the center of gravity worked out, so they'll be doing that all year long.
The water is rough as the combatants in Superboat Powerboat racing head south to the government cut turn. You're looking at your leaders. We'll be back with more action in beautiful Miami after this timeout.
Welcome back, everybody, as the hydrogen media fountain is still proudly showing his stern, showing his transom, Jim, to the rest of the field. But will it last? You know, these million-dollar boats, these multi-million-dollar rigs, sometimes even a 50-cent little fitting or a bracket can mean the difference between first place and last place. And still a heated battle for 2nd place. Planet Man now taking over. Tremendous race all day long. Earlier, Jim caught up with John Thomason about the Drambuie driver situation, and John had some interesting comments to make on that.
Drambuie always a challenge in offshore racing. John Tomlinson, veteran throttle man. New driver, but not new to the sport.
No, not at all. Lorne Leibel's been around for a while. I first raced with him in 86, and I raced with him off and on all the way up to 95. And Forrest couldn't make it today, so Lorne's going to do the job for us today.
Now, you say today, is Forrest going to return to the sport?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. Right now, he's allowing me to use his equipment with Drambuie support. We're able to show up and race, and we're going to take it race to race. He might come back for a few. He might sit out this year. It's really unknown at this time.
Still in 4th place is the Coca-Cola boat, Dan Campbell. I wonder if he's just holding back to wait to burn some fuel off, or if he's just playing cat and mouse, Jim, because this boat definitely has the most horsepower of any boat in the field.
Our Superboat Limited Bandit is out of the race, limping back. Chalk him up to attrition.
Your class leader in the Manufacturers 2 class is the Mikosuke Indian Gaming Boat. Extremely fast, step-bottom, V-bottom boat. Doing very, very well. Getting a pretty good ride in these bouncy, rough water conditions.
We're on board with him right now. The throttle man on the right, look at him. Takes his hand off and he kind of shakes his right hand like he's lost feeling from the vibration. Feeling every wave, every hole, pounding south on this Atlantic Ocean course. Open cockpit, no canopy. You're looking at the Mikosuke Gaming leader in class with a big lead over the F-215 Parts Unlimited Marine Fountain.
And what a boat it is, 38 feet in length, laid up, of course, at Reggie Fountain's plant in Washington, North Carolina. This boat has a double step bottom. It's extremely fast, extremely light, and the drivers this year are seated instead of standing, which makes the boat even faster, less wind resistance.
Third in class, Bang Cafe Wild Child, David Dahl, Marcus Savataro. And look at that, they're looking pretty cool.
Well, they're looking pretty wild out there. Beautiful boat. They're in third place. They got to make up some time. My hat's off to these guys because they are not intimidated at all in this little tiny boat in these huge waters, Jim.
In Superboat International Racing, in offshores, you deal with the water the best you can.
And this boat right now is dealing with it, Jim. A little intimidator. This boat's having a very, very rough ride.
Going for a rough ride. Look at the rocket ship Hydrogen Media Fountain go whipping by, heading south to complete another lap here on the Atlantic Ocean.
There you see the difference in speed. Now we're on board this little F1 boat. Let's listen in.
I don't know what's wrong, Andy. I'm not hooked up. How are the tabs looking? I can't figure it out.
Oh, they're taking a pounding. And so are the guys on the F1-5 accelerator, Cliff Cyber and Steve Abrams.
All right. Let's just take it easy, buddy. All right. That was my neck that time. Really? How's your back? Back and my neck is killing me. All right. I gotta
Sounds
take
like
it easy. I
Cliff
don't want to
Cyber
damage
has
it.
a problem with his neck and his back.
We're gonna get it around. We're gonna get around back to the start line, to the finish line, and then we'll take it easy. All right? Yeah. I'm done out here in this. Yeah.
Oh, that's a terrible pounding they're taking, Stan.
Well, these guys are getting beat up, too. These are big waters.
We're done.
The Warlock powerboats starting to slow down. They look like they're singling, and they're going to turn off into the middle of the course. Wonder why.
Well, they were talking about their trim a little earlier, that they could have a bad drive, could have a trim problem, they could have lost a trim pump or something. I don't want to speculate on that, but obviously attrition has claimed another boat. Speaking of attrition, Jim, I see a high rooster tail on the Drambuie boat. That can mean only one thing, a blown drive.
They're slowing down. The Drambuie and Ice, after battling for second place in a seesaw battle with Planet Man, is now starting to slow down. They are out of this race.
That's a shame. Tremendous battle, as you said, all day long, but the equipment was stretched.
The race host hotel is the Marriott Marina, and that's where we have our wet pits. And Friday night, at the drivers' meeting, which all attend, the event sponsors, you see them right up at the podium now, the Seminole Indian Casinos, their personnel welcomed all the racers and their crews to Miami. We welcome them, too. And that night after the meeting, the SBI gang was invited aboard the Royal Star for an evening of fun and chance. Stanley and I got off the boat before it sailed. We didn't have any money to gamble.
Well, I asked the big cheese right there, John Carbonell, for some money, and he said, hold your breath.
And you did turn blue, and we went to bed early because it was a big race day, but everybody had a pretty good time. We'll be back to the action after this timeout.
Hooking your...
As the Seminole Indians Casino presents the Fountain Miami Superboat Grand Prix, and the water stand continues to be rough.
Well, the water is really boiling. It's not quite as bad as that movie, The Perfect Storm, but believe you me, it is extremely rough out there.
Planet Man's sister boat, the F322 Planet Honda, is leading in the Manufacturers 3 class. Other class leaders, A6 Extreme Stainless Marine and driver Rick Turmel. Turmel talked about how they prepared for this year.
It's pretty well dialed in. We did a lot of research this winter just on the motor program.
And even after the World, we worked hard on the motor, boot on their engine, and the Extreme is going well, and picked up another 4 or 5 mile an hour just on engine R&D.
Well, second place in class is A11, the Extinguisher Fountain, Anthony Perry and Gary Guido. These guys, Jim, have already had a very eventful weekend because they were testing Saturday and the boat rolled over, barrel rolled at 100 miles an hour. You see the missing paint, the lettering stuff is gone. They were up all night long repairing this boat, and it was only the SBI mandated safety equipment that kept those guys from getting hurt.
This is what the boat looked like 24 hours, not even 24 hours before the race. That crew did a wonderful job of getting it ready. And of course, SBI inspectors were there to make sure in safety it was done right.
And they are battling for second in class now with A88 Fury. Fury, of course, on the inside, the canopied white boat. But right now, that little fountain boat showing his stern to Fury.
And Fury, of course, with Gary Iserline. Last year, Gary was in what they call the manufacturer's class. Now he's moved to A class. He's very, very competitive and wants to improve every time.
We want to go faster, but it was fast enough last year and scary enough in that open cockpit boat. So this year a little bit safer, strapped in, oxygen, the whole 9 yards, and we get to go faster to boot. So we're pretty excited about that.
Pretty neat looking rig, wouldn't you say, Stan?
No, brother, this is state of the art. As you said, oxygen on board. They got the enclosed cockpit canopy. This boat is screaming now, but they're in big, big water.
Yes, they are. Fourth in class is the A9 Rapido Auto, Carlos Rios and Troy Lanier. Doing a little shine walk. Let's see how our overall leader is doing. Then the Hydrogen Media Fountain.
Well, they're making the turn on the northern end of the course. They're cutting it pretty good for a cat. These cats, you have to cut a little bit wider. They're doing a great job.
They are doing a great job, and all the drivers here today in Miami are doing a great job negotiating this rough water course.
Wow, what a tight turn that was. They almost just hugged the pin as this boat goes around there, the Hydrogen Media Fountain. Now they will trim it up. They'll head back north towards the next turn. These boats reaching top speeds of today, not as high as usual, Jim, because of the big water conditions, but speeds approaching 125, 130 miles an hour for these big super boats.
And they're rough at both ends of the course, north and south.
Make no mistake about it, it's rough all the way around this course. Hydrogen Media leading the way right now.
Planet Man is second, a strong showing for this brand new team. Look at the people on the shoreline. They have a heck of a crowd down at this end of the course.
Oh, you gotta love South Beach, one of the hottest beaches anywhere in the world. And I've been to them all, Jim.
I didn't know you wrestled there. Planet Man showing well.
Showing well indeed, but this 46-foot catamaran is catching some major league air. Now this boat even bigger than that. This is the biggest boat in the fleet, 50 feet in length. It's huge, and it's got 4 1,300 horsepower engines. Extremely fast, a very unique boat, to say the least.
When we first designed the boat, we were looking to develop a boat that would run good in the rough water, but to be extremely fast in calm waters. So basically, we've geared the boat down, and we've got the big props on there. We're looking for a fast race. We feel we'll be very competitive out there, and we're looking for a really nice, fast race. We'll see who crosses the finish line first.
The action continues here in Miami, and I'll tell you what, this leadoff race for the season has been exciting, and it's been rough. We're going to have more action, including a look at some of the drama involved in that national champion boat, the newly named Dagwood, in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Look. They're still churning up the waters off Miami's South Beach. The action's been fast and furious, hot and heavy. What a way to kick off a brand new season SBI style. We thank the Seminole Indian Casino for presenting the Fountain Miami Superboat Grand Prix. We're having a great time, always do. There you see Team Dagwood. Now, for all of you people who read the Sunday cartoons, you're very familiar with Blondie and Dagwood, and this boat right here is the Dagwood boat. Jim, it's a stock boat with twin outboard power.
And we took a little closer look at this team and their boat earlier today.
Dean Young, the cartoonist for Blondie and Dagwood, has always been interested in powerboat racing and decided he wanted to get involved with it this year, and we picked Wiley mainly because he is last year's S1 champion.
Well, this boat earlier on in this very race, we missed it with our copter cam, but we do have some stills. This boat actually stuffed, Jim, went all the way under the water, came back up. Everybody was okay because of those safety cockpits, and they kept on, and they're doing great now. Let's check this out right here. Courtesy of Mr. Ricky, of course, Vapor Trails Magazine. Look at that, all the way under the water. Truly amazing.
Looked like a submarine, and then it come back out and said, oh, What happened? And yet they're still going, which is great. Tough boat.
It is a tough boat. You got to say the driver and throttle men are tough. Team Dagwood. And here's their counterpart, Team Blondie. S9, Alan Butler, Gary Below. They are leading in stock, so they're doing a great job, too, in a brand new boat.
A good-looking stock craft with twin outboard power. The battle for second place is between the S31, rumor has it, and the S33, fastboats.com. They're heading north now. Water seems to be a little rougher going north. Do you agree?
I would agree to that, yes.
Doug Kelly, in rumor has it, sitting down, getting a pretty good ride. Also twin outboard engines. Power that particular boat in the stock class.
These boats so evenly matched. They're all about 28 to 31 foot catamaran hulls. They have the same exact outboard power on the back. So it boils down to driver and throttle man and who can make the best turns and who can keep those throttles down the longest and not break the boat.
Water continues to be rough as some of these boats launching, and here, Stan, is a brand new boat for this season.
It certainly is, and it's the only boat in the SBI fleet that has a male and female race team in it. Patricia Parton, of course, in there with Lee Austin, and as he said, Jim, a brand new boat, 32 feet in length.
6 feet longer than last year's boat, and Lee Austin told us why he went bigger.
That was the decision to go larger. After Key West last year, we decided we had to do something. Between Pat and I, we thrashed pretty hard to get this out. As you can see, it's not even painted yet, so it's brand new. It's only got an hour seat time in it so far.
Well, they're looking pretty good with that 6 additional feet. Looks like they're riding a little better than their old boat. Sixth in class is the S18 Barracuda, Chris Marshall and Dennis Berry. Kind of a neat name, Barracuda, name it after yourself.
This class is always competitive, and there's a lot of boats in this class. It's the biggest class so far this year of the new millennium. 17th class is S45 MFW Racing, Chris Kirby, and of course Lance Vincent on throttles.
For you watching on Speed Vision, there are various classes, and it depends on the size, the weight, and the horsepower. That's what depends on the classes, and they all race at the same time.
There's our class leader coming towards us right now. Oh, my goodness, they caught some big air. It looks like, Jim, they may have knocked loose their starboard outboard engine. Look at it. It's just hanging there off the transom. That could be major league problems for our stock class leader, Team Blondie.
Oh, my goodness. He really took a whack on there, and you can see the starboard engine, right engine is now hanging loose on the mounting. Intimidator is the class leader in the Factory 1 class. And these two guys launching off waves in this number 2 turn, getting a rough ride. Second in that class, F1-5 accelerator.
Well, they're still gutting it out. You know, his back and neck are hurt.
Oh, I got it. Hold the wheel.
Takes a lot of guts. Hurting like that.
Get over to the right. Easy, bub. Get over to the right. Oh, they drowned him. Whenever they come next to you, you got to get over. I know. I didn't see them. I was yelling. Got no navigator here. I was telling you, get to the right. To the right. You sound like JJ.
And of course, they're referring to the man who's usually in the boat with them, JJ Figueredo. We'll be back with more action from Miami after this timeout. Rick Stan Lane here at the Seminole Indian Casino Fountain, Miami Superboat Grand Prix. The battle continues in the stock class, hot and heavy.
Well, they're closing in on that crippled Blondie boat. And speaking of crippled, I hope these guys won't be. They've finally given in to the pounding, Jim. The backs and the necks just couldn't take it any longer. It's been extremely rough out here all day long.
And they're out in the open like that and very gingerly. They did their job, though. I'll tell you right now, a lot of guts to go as far as they went. I'll tell you.
Checking in with their Super V class, the class of the field, Popeye Fountain. He did it last year, Jim. Looks like nobody can touch him this year as well.
And while the Popeye Fountain leads in Super V, here comes the leader in Super Class, the Hydrogen Media Fountain, on his right and down the shoreline, heading again for Government Cut. While in second place, Battler at the moment finds the V8 Roses in hot pursuit of the V76 Fountain Mercury. It's Joe Stroh and Peter Myers. They pass the A-class leader, Extreme Stainless Marine. Peter Meyer yesterday talked about running a shorter haul.
It's definitely going to be a hindrance because in the rougher weather, they definitely have the advantage 6 to 8 foot boat, but the boat will definitely be able to move right along, and I think with the speed will be able to stay right with them, and I think the experience between Joe and myself will be right there in the competition, right in the hunt.
and they are in the hunt. However, last-minute adjustments, imbalance. Look at this. Heavy on the nose right now, causing it to go left and right, and experience straightens it out. But that boat is not properly balanced. They even admitted that.
We mentioned earlier, we talked about the bow steering condition. Here we're going to go back in slow motion and see just exactly what happened. The fountain boat launched off a wave completely out of the water. You see the prop spinning freely now, and it hits down, hit bow first. Once again, as you said, Jim, not quite balanced. They moved up from B engines to Super V engines, which are much heavier. Plus, they changed the out drives. They got those heavy number 6 bulletproof out drives on there, but the boat is just not quite balanced, not quite dialed in correctly, and that's why they're having that bow steer condition. You know, next time Reggie Fountain will have that boat just as it should be.
Now they're deck to deck with Rio Rosas, and the races continue here on the Atlantic Ocean. Superboat International with the most exciting boat races in the world, barring none. Fourth class is still the V21 Firewater. Bob Oliver, Scott Wilson, Herb Stotler, all in an open cockpit, taking those waves.
And Bob Oliver, they are really getting bounced around. This boat is very unique. We found out earlier all about it.
This boat has 2 engines compared to the triple, and it will run about 5 to 7 miles an hour faster, mainly due to the difference in weight. We have plans, hopefully for the Point Pleasant race, to put in the 622 cubic inch motors along with the dry sump number 6 out drives.
Well, Jim, their major plans are they're going to actually retire this very successful hull next year. They're having a brand new light layup fountain built for themselves.
Well, that's going to be exciting. Anytime you get a new boat in the fleet, and of course we have several new boats out so far this year, and more to come in the future as Superboat International expands, gets bigger, and gets better.
Yeah, this boat was very successful, but it's just too heavy. And even in these big waters, you see they just don't quite have the speed as these new, well-designed boats have today.
Action continues between Rio Rosas and Fountain Mercury. All kinds of different races going on at different parts of this Atlantic Ocean course. It's so exciting.
Even with that fountain boat not being perfectly dialed in, you see us giving Rio Rosas all they can deal with, even passing Rio Rosas. That's amazing.
Raul Bassell on board. The follow man is Phil Lupschutz, and of course, if you know the name Raul Bassell, you think of Indianapolis Racing. He is in a race boat today, getting an education. And one of the educators is Peter Meyer, throttling with Joe Stroh as they go across the stern and the wake of Raul Bassell, an Indy racer who earlier talked about the difference between car racing and boat racing.
Raul compared driving an Indy car to driving a Super V boat in SBI.
Well, for a start, you know, you have a moving ground all the time, and then I don't have the control of the speed of the boat. I can steer the boat and through the course, but it's really a teamwork because I need to have confidence in Phil because he's the one that controls the speed of the boat.
Inside the cockpit with both men as they continue this race. Lanier Marine, the Rapido Auto is out. Carlos Rios, Troy Lanier, the son of the veteran throttleman Errol Lanier, they're out of the race. Attrition continues to climb, and look, Stan.
Check this out. Fountain Mercury also stopping on the water. It looks like they battled valiantly all day long, but I think they finally cooked an engine.
And the salt water probably added to that attrition. Out front, Hydrogen Media Fountain still leads over hard-charging Planet Man. We'll be back.
Just offshore from the famous and beautiful Fontainebleau Hotel right here in Miami. And here's the view from the roof of the hotel as number 11, Hydrogen Media Fountain, Hugh Fuller and Jerry Gilbreth, they close in on the victory. The checkered flags are waiting. You got to know they've got their fingers crossed, hoping nothing will go wrong as they bear down towards the Fontainebleau. Hugh Fuller, of course, on board, and Jerry Gilbreth.
Water continues to be rough, Stan, as they head south along the Miami Beach shoreline, heading toward Government Cut and the south end of this race course. No navigation needed. All these navigators aboard these boats will be just busy counting laps to make sure they get the executive time in. Now, Tim Shazuli has come back to Powerboat Racing here at SBI after a few years absent. He's getting involved. He also is going to get involved in sponsoring the race at New Jersey.
As a kid, I stood on the jetty at Manasquan Inlet and watched the boats go out. Names like Don Arno to race the Tennessee Grand Prix. and then Rocky Aoki took it over. It was known as the Benihana Grand Prix. This year they ran out of a sponsorship for some reason, and late last week we were able to put a deal together, and if all goes well and we get all our approvals, we will have the Planet Honda and the Used Car Universe New Jersey Offshore Grand Prix.
And that's going to be very exciting. And Tim Suzuki, I'll tell you, Stan, it's good to see this guy back. He always has been good for offshore powerboat racing.
Well, he's nothing but a class act, and he's got a beautiful, expensive, brand new boat. I tell you what, if anybody can come back and come back strong, this man certainly can. And speaking of rough water races, that Point Pleasant race is coming up. That historically has always been a rough water race as well. I can remember 10-foot waves there before.
I'll tell you, I love this SBI coverage as we put cameras inside the cockpits. You can see the guys bouncing around. You can hear them talking. Here's a different style. Mikasuki Indian Gaming. They're the leader in the Factory 2 class, and they're completely open. And that way they can, of course, feel the speed being out in the open. They get the sense of speed more than being covered in an indoor cockpit. Wouldn't you say, Stan?
Yeah, the downside, though, of course, is it's much more dangerous should the boat barrel roll or spin out. These guys are usually ejected from the boat, not to mention the fact that their knees take a tremendous amount of shock and punishment all race long.
Here is Stainless Marine in the A class, and a real state-of-the-art type of boat. They're enclosed.
Rick Terminal done a great job with this racing program. This 30-foot step-bottom boat is extremely fast, and he's really paying the price today in these big waters. But this guy is so meticulous. I mean, he goes over this boat not once, not twice, but about 10 times before each and every race to make sure everything is done the way he wants it.
Years ago, Sammy James used to have a checklist, every cotter key, every nut. And once he sealed that boat, nobody dare ever open that cockpit until it was race time. He had security. He had a good check of his boat and his equipment.
Now, here's another style of boat. Now, these guys are actually seated, but they had no cockpit canopies, no F-16 Lexan plexiglass, which is bulletproof to protect them should they nose in. These guys are seated, but they're out in the open as well in this Factory 1 boat, Intimidator.
Intimidate me. I wouldn't want to be in there right now, especially since as rough as it is. Now they're heading south toward Government Cut along the beach.
Factory 3, your leader in class is Planet Honda, and they're not going that fast in this 31-foot catamaran. It's, oh my goodness. Speaking of Planet Honda and Planet Man seems to have a problem. You're seeing the port side hatch being raised. The throttle man, who is also an expert with these engines, he's trying to see what's wrong, and now we're on board Hydrogen Media Fountain.
And of course, Hugh Fuller at the wheel, waving to everybody. The checker flag has fallen. His first race in offshore powerboat racing. Hydrogen Media the winner, and congratulations to Mr. Fuller, and of course his throttle man, Jerry Gilbreth.
And that's got to make the Fountain camp, especially Reggie Fountain, extremely happy. Your overall results in all classes, there you see them. Tremendous race. What a way to kick off the new year, SBI style. There you see your winners, and there you see the winner overall, Hydrogen Media Fountain. Good job, guys.
It's a the Fountain Miami Superboat Grand Prix has been brought to you by the Seminole Indian Casinos. Catch the excitement. By Fountain Powerboats, because there is a difference. And by Entertainment Coaches of America, the preferred coach of the stars. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Stan Lane. It's been quite a race there, Stan.
Well, it's been a great race to see the huge throngs of SBI fans on the shore. They had a great bird's eye view, up close and personal, of this SBI race all day long.
Now let's take a look. First of all, the final results in the Superboats, if you will, Mr. Lane.
All right, Hydrogen Media Fountain with 503 points to start things off. Planet Man in second, Coca-Cola Racing in third. And rounding out the Superboat class, Drambuie on Ice.
Bandit takes the Superboat Limited class here in Miami. Popeye Fountain takes the Super V class. Rio Rosas is second. Firewater is third. And Fountain Mercury ends up fourth.
Moving on now to the stock class, S31, Rumor Has It, followed by Blondie. And then FastBoats.com in third. Deep V Catamarans in fourth, and MFW Racing in fifth. Coming in sixth was Barracuda, and seventh, Team Dagwood.
Now taking a look at Production A results. Here's the field the way they finished, led by Extreme Stainless Marine, A6 the winner.
Moving on now to Manufacturers 1, Intimidator takes the checkered flag. Warlock Powerboats in second, and third place, Accelerator.
In the Manufacturers 2 class, let's look at our scoreboard. Miccosukee Indian Gaming first. Bang Cafe Wild Child second. Parts Unlimited Marine third.
And finally, Manufacturers 3, F322 Planet Honda.
It was quite a day, and afterwards at the Marriott, it was awards time. Guys kind of sitting around, relaxing after they've had a hard day of pounding on the water, have a little toddy for their body, get their rewards, get the accolades from their peers, get their trophies, and get ready for the next race. There's Reggie Fountain there, of course, getting in there to make sure they all get their trophies. He really is a wild child himself.
Yes, sir. There you are, Jim, over there on the left. I guess you were the security person there, weren't you?
That was me. I'm the guard.
I want to thank Reggie Fountain for all his help. Speaking of Reggie Fountain, that Popeye boat, he built that one. Stainless Marine was in the air all day long, and there's Rick Terminal. He's the builder and the driver and throttle man of that boat.
Next stop, Key West. Superboat International is produced by Diamond P Sports in association with Speed Vision. For Stan Lane, I'm Jim Hendrick. So long, everybody.